Good morning, good afternoon, everybody who's joined in. Thanks for taking the time and joining this webinar where we'll be discussing Haiku's one-click backup and recovery solution for iManage Cloud. My name is Ashish Rao. I'm a senior product marketing manager here at Haiku. One of my primary focuses here is to help build the iManage data protection solution and take it to the market. We also have with us Ben Topolsky, who is the Director of Strategic Alliances and Partnerships and has been working very closely with the iManage team over the last several months. Ben, do you want to give a quick intro about yourself?
Hello, everybody. Yeah, so as Ashish mentioned, I run our alliances here at Haiku, work really closely with iMatch and all of our technology partnerships. Excited to be talking today.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks, Ben. All right, so this is what we're going to be discussing today, right? So primarily, I think we're going to be focusing on the reasons why you should be backing up your iManage cloud data and what happens when you lose and if you lose that data and you don't have a backup. Then we'll also quickly be going through the shared responsibility model, which typically most SaaS and cloud vendors like AWS, Azure, Google, follow. And lastly, we'll be going through a little bit more about Haiku's iManage Cloud data protection solution. A little bit before we get into it, let a quick introduction about Haiku for the ones who don't know much about us. Haiku is the number one SaaS data protection platform, and we've got over 4,200 customers across 78 countries. And we work with more than 400 partners across the globe, and we have an industry-leading Net Promoter Score of 91. Our objective here at Haiku is to help you protect data across your entire tech landscape. So which includes your on-prem, your cloud, and several different SaaS applications. And we do that by, strategically partnering with companies like Okta, like Nutanix, Atlassian, Dell, and even iManage. And lastly, we've also been recognized as a visionary in Gartner's Magic Quadrant for enterprise backup and recovery solutions three years in a row. Okay, so you must be wondering how we got here, right? I mean, why are we discussing this? Don't I already have all of my data stored on the cloud? Isn't the whole backup and the recovery part already being taken care of for me by somebody else? And how did it all get so complicated? Why there's so many different things that we need to sort of, keep in mind and take care of now, right? And it's just become a little more complex, multiple solutions, so many different things to do. Now you also have to take care of the backups yourself. Let's take a few steps back and sort of look at, sort of understand why we reached here, right, at this point. Especially for law firms, many years, let's say about 25, 30 years ago, most all of your data, in fact, was in the form of physical files and folders stored in boxes, and these boxes stacked on top of each other in one big room. That's how you stored all of your data, right? And then with the introduction of technology, organizations and even law firms moved to having on-prem servers using which they would just upload all of their data, maintain these servers on their premises so that everybody in the organization could access these files way more easily. And then came public cloud, where you wouldn't have to manage any of this yourself. You wouldn't have to manage adding more storage, adding more compute power, maintaining these servers, you know, uh, taking care of the security aspect of it. Everything was outsourced, and all you had to do was pay like a monthly fee or a yearly fee to access all of these services, upload your data, upload your applications, and just run things on it. And now we've got thousands of SaaS applications that are specifically built for various business use cases within the organization. As a law firm, you would be using a particular SaaS application to manage your finance, your HR operations. You could be using another application to manage your timesheets and sending out invoices to your clients. And similarly, you're also using iManage Cloud to securely store, access, and share your data within the organization. But as you can see, with the and this is way more convenient than what it was before, right? I mean, now imagine if you were to access or get access to some certain information 25 years ago, you would have to go into that room, find the right file, find the right piece of paper, get your information, and go back to work, which is easily about 15, 20 minutes of your time. But now, within a few seconds, just with a few clicks, you can so easily access all of the data, right? It's really easy. I mean, it's just a few seconds, and we are so used to it. We are so used to the convenience, the ease at which we're able to access all of this information. But this convenience and this ease has has become this way because of the evolution of technology, right? Technology has evolved over the last 20, 25 years, and from everything being paper-based to today, just everything being accessible just with a few clicks is because the technology has evolved with it. But we also need to know and remember that the threats also have evolved with the technology that is evolving. Back then, you wouldn't really have to worry much about, various different threats. All you would worry about is what if my building catches fire, or if there's a flood, or if there's any other natural disaster, I'm going to lose all of my files, and these are physical files. But today, with all of these SaaS applications, everything being on cloud, everything, all the data being in silos, there are so many more threats that we need to keep in mind. And especially as you can see, some of the examples on the screen here, these law firms specifically have become one of the primary targets for attackers because they know that the value of the data that they'll be getting access to, the value of the data that they will be holding ransom in some cases is very, very valuable. It could include your customer data, your client information, confidential information, your timesheets, evidence data, and so many different things. So we must remember that while everything has become way more convenient, it's become way more easier because of the evolution of technology, we also need to remember that the threats are evolving with them. The threats that existed many years ago are way more than what it used to be before. Today we have to take care of so many things, cyber attacks, ransomware attacks, human error. There are so many people constantly accessing these applications on a daily basis. So many files are being downloaded, uploaded, edited. So there's definitely going to be many more threats that we'll have to handle and be aware of. So let's get into it. Let's understand why you should be backing up your iManage Cloud data. And let's understand a little bit more about what are these threats that I'm talking about. Now, I'm going to start these threats and I'm going to go through them by the kind of impact that they have on your business. So let's start with external attacks like ransomware. And we've seen from the examples in the previous slide that ransomwares and attacks like ransomware basically have become very common on law firms because they know that the data is really, really valuable. And this can have severe impact on your business because it can put your entire organization in a freeze. It can just halt your entire business operations until you get access to that data, which is encrypted by the attackers. Nobody will be able to do anything because none of your employees, none of your team members have access to any information, any data, any files. So this can cause severe impact and severe damage to a business. Then we've got disasters and technical failures. I mean, this may not be as common, or it's pretty much a rare occurrence where some sort of a disaster happens that's so big that you can't access anything, all of your data is gone. But it does happen, and even in that 1% chance, the impact that it can cause is very significant. It can again cripple the entire organization. It could probably mean that the service is down for a few hours, or it could also mean that in the worst case, the entire data is wiped off. And such technical failures do happen from smallest to even larger organizations. Disasters, technical failures do happen. At the end of it, it's technology. And we've seen more than enough examples of this happening in the past. Then we've got insider threats. Now, insider threats, just like your external attackers, are basically internal bad actors who could, over a period of many months, make small changes in files. And these could be your current employees, disgruntled employees, or your contractors, or an ex-employee who still has access to this platform. All they have to do is just make small changes to a file in a single day over a period of many months, and that could be affecting hundreds of files. Or it could just also be that they're voluntarily maliciously deleting an entire folder or an entire workspace. And these insider threats do exist, and they are more common than we know. And the range of the impact or the damage that it can cause really depends on how widespread the attack is or how widespread the changes are. But these insider threats do exist, especially when they know that the data is really valuable. Then we've got third-party risk. Now, you must have spent a lot of time and effort trying to ensure that your, iManage Cloud data and your instance is secure. You've got everything right. It's completely foolproof. you've got the permissions right, everything, but there could be third-party applications that are talking to your iManage Cloud data, right? It could be any other application, which probably is just syncing the data, which is probably modifying some data or even just reading the data. What if through these third-party applications, there's a vulnerability which you have no control over? You don't even know what's happening on the other side. But what if that opens up a vulnerability? It opens up your files, your data to an attacker, or it makes some changes which it's not supposed to make. It could be a bug, it could be an issue, or it could be an attacker who's leveraging a third-party application to access your iManage Cloud data. This too is quite common. It happens in several attacks, and attackers do leverage this. And depending again on the level of change, the level of damage that it's doing, the business impact can vary. But typically, it can affect quite a lot of files, quite a lot of folders, and it can actually, I mean, if the attackers can get access to it, they can do a lot with your iManage Cloud data. Then we've got automation errors. I'm sure like most organizations now have several different automations on the platform or through scripts using which they are automating a lot of mundane processes, a lot of, reducing the human intervention, making things smarter, faster, and better. But what happens when this automation encounters a unique use case or a unique scenario for which it was not tested? What happens when it encounters that and makes an unexpected, it doesn't know what to do. It's just an unexpected result, right? So it could probably delete a file. It could behave in any other way, which is something that we have not tested, we've not really gone through. So these kind of automation errors can happen. It could affect one single file, it could affect a particular folder, or it could affect even a workspace, right? And for any such unique use case, it can do whatever damage around that, the automation use cases. Then comes human error. Now, this is a kind of threat which all the organizations in the world, from the smallest companies to the largest companies, across all industries, across all countries, are vulnerable to. This is something that businesses just simply have to accept that it exists and be able to navigate around it. Human error could be anything like, deleting a file accidentally, or changing the file, or uploading a different file altogether, or uploading a corrupted file. It could be anything. Errors can be even in the configurations, which probably opens up some sort of vulnerability, gives the wrong permissions to the wrong people. It could be anything. But these kind of human errors are very, very common, and it happens across all organizations in the world. And lastly, we have file corruption, especially in the cases of something like an iManage Cloud, where you're managing hundreds and thousands of files in a day across so many different people. Probably when you're saving the file on your local system, or when you're syncing the file from an external source, the file gets corrupted. This again is a very localized issue, which typically happens with maybe just that particular file or just 2, 3 files. So the impact is not that great, but it does happen, especially with systems like this. Now, apart from the threats that we just saw, there are certain regulations and guidelines that law firms also need to adhere to, right? For example, the Formal Opinion 498 by American Bar Association. It states that lawyers must ensure that data is regularly backed up and that secure access to the backup data is readily available in the event of a data loss. Well, this clearly states that law firms and lawyers need to be prepared in the event of a data incident. They need to have a backup in place which is readily available, which helps them get back to business as soon as possible. Another example is the NIS2 directive, which is applicable to any law firm that is operating in the EU region or has clients in the EU region. And it states that organizations are required to implement business continuity, such as backup management and disaster recovery and crisis management. This again states that organizations and law firms need to ensure that their systems and their data is being backed up and they have a solid business continuity plan in place. Now we've understood what could go wrong. We understood why do we need to back it up. I'm quite sure at this point you guys understand that there are so many different threats and so many things that can happen. But let's take a quick look at how that can affect your business. How does that actually eventually, what are the consequences for your business, right? So one could be hundreds or thousands of hours hours lost in reworking or recreating files. When you've lost access to your files, your entire team has to sit and figure out and take these bits and pieces to rework on these files that are very critical for their daily operations, for their work on a daily basis. And then we've got severe operational disruptions affecting deadlines and billable hours. Again, if people don't have access to the data that they need, that's very, very critical for them to function in a day. It could affect their deliverables and it could eventually affect their billable hours as well. And it's very important because imagine hundreds of people who are just trying to rework and rack their brains in terms of how to get things together and are not able to actually build any of these hours. That's a huge damage for the company. Then we have financial damage due to loss of IPN research, due to downtimes, and due to customer churn. If you're not able to securely or protect your customer data, it could definitely lead to customer churn, and that can have direct impact on the financial status of the company. And of course, loss of IPN research, something that your team has been working for months and weeks or even years together, could just vanish. And you could have operational downtimes, which eventually just means that people are idle and they're not able to do their job. Then we've got hefty ransom demands, and which we'll see a couple of examples of in shortly, which can go into millions of dollars. This can be a direct impact, financial impact to the business, and it can mean that millions of dollars will just be spent to simply get back your data from the attacker. Then we have customer distrust and reputational damage. Of course, if you're not able to protect, if you're not able to protect the data that your clients have trusted you with, it could definitely lead to customer distrust and reputational damage, which is a very long-term damage, which you can't immediately get back from. Then lastly, we've got compliance issues and lawsuits due to loss of customer data and evidence. If you lose evidence data, you're going to be under the lens for many different lawsuits and class action cases. Let's look at a few examples of actually these things happening, right? These consequences on businesses. You can see from the first example that hackers have demanded 21 million from a law firm as a in a data extortion scheme, which just means that they've demanded $21 million from a law firm just to give their data back, just so that they can resume their business. And in general, on an average, law firms are hit with a ransom demand of about $2.5 million, which is also a significant amount just to get back your data. And then there are other examples of, lawsuits and class action cases and settlements, which could be because of attacks, which could be because of some sort of a human error or any of the threats that we saw, any sort of automation errors that happen, any threat that, leads to data loss can attract lawsuits and class action cases against them. Now, finally, let's quickly talk about the shared responsibility model. And basically, this is followed by majority of your SaaS vendors and your cloud vendors, where they say that we give you the infrastructure, we give you the platform, we give you all of the features, all the updates. We ensure that the platform is available, reliable, and you can access the data and information, very seamlessly. But what they also state is that in your tenant, your data, if something happens to it, if there's a mistake, if there's an attack or an automation error or anything that happens to it, we are not responsible for it. You are solely responsible for the data in your tenant, and you need to ensure that you've got the right processes in place to protect that. So let's take an example that I think we all can relate to. I'm sure at some point in time, we've all used a parking lot in our lives, right? Essentially, the way it works is you enter the parking lot, you pay some amount, you park your car, you go out for a couple of hours, go to a movie, go to the mall, do some shopping, come back, sit in the car, and drive back home, right? But what if, by mistake, you left your windows down or you left your door unlocked and somebody came and took away some of the valuables that are in your car? Now, in this case, we know, and we know this, that we're not going to go to the parking lot owner and be like, "Hey, what happened? I mean, where's all my stuff? Weren't you supposed to be responsible for protecting that?" They would just simply say, "Well, you should have rolled up your windows. You should have just locked your car. You shouldn't have left it like that. All we do is provide you a space, but Beyond that, securing your car is your duty. Securing your valuables is your duty. Similarly, like we can understand that situation, the same scenario applies in the situation of SaaS as well. While these SaaS vendors and cloud vendors will provide this infrastructure, all these features, it is eventually your responsibility to ensure that you've got the right processes, the backup and recovery processes in place to protect and recover from any kind of data incident. And you will need to protect your own data. That is your responsibility. All right. So with this, I'm going to pass on the mic to my colleague, Ben, who will be taking this further and talking a little bit about Haiku's data protection solution for iManage Cloud. Over to you, Ben.
Thanks, Ashish, and thanks for reviewing the many different reasons that data protection is going to be important for iManage customers. Examples like these are why iManage is directly working with Haiku, as Sean Mosqueda, EVP of Product Management at iManage highlighted earlier when we announced the partnership during Connect Live in 2024. Let's take a look at how Haiku has expanded its capabilities in protecting the data estate. So as Ashish mentioned, technology is evolving, and we have been part of that evolution here at Haiku. Haiku started out by architecting our solution using cloud-native APIs instead of agents and providing data protection across private cloud and data center solutions like Nutanix, VMware, and NetApp, as well as for public cloud infrastructure across Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, and Amazon Web Services. However, we noticed that there was a key part of data estate left unprotected, as we've seen the proliferation of SaaS solutions. And there's only a small handful of SaaS solutions that had any type of third-party solutions or third-party offerings that could back up and recover this business-critical data in these SaaS services. To solve this problem, Haiku announced our cloud platform based on our ability to quickly integrate with cloud and SaaS APIs. With our cloud, Haiku quickly expanded our capabilities to provide more data protection coverage across the data estate than any other vendor. Today, Haiku is actively providing data protection for dozens of SaaS services and over 80 data sources in total. We are excited that iManage is part of that coverage in the near future and allowing us to continue to be the #1 provider in SaaS data protection. But just don't take our word for it. What are others saying about our Haiku data protection platform? As you can see, Haiku has received numerous awards and recognition. Gartner, as mentioned earlier on the slides, recognized Haiku as a visionary for 3 years running in the enterprise backup recovery space. Google recognized Haiku as the Partner of the Year in 2024 for infrastructure backup and DR. And we also have received numerous other awards and recognitions, including from outlets such as GigaOM, G2, and Tech Data. We have a list of these links inside of the chat today. So let's take a look at how Haiku is expanding our leading technology into iManage. First, Haiku is providing key features that will enable iManage cloud customers the ability to recover from any data loss incident. First, we're providing our automated backup capability in a way that allows you to leverage our set and forget policies that run 24/7. Next, Haiku will provide one-click restore with full or granular restore capabilities across iManage cloud libraries, workspaces, documents, or files. For customers who need access to files in a rare case iManage goes down, Haiku will provide the ability to recover iManage data outside of iManage Cloud through our offsite export capabilities. Haiku customers are always in full control of their data and can choose where the data is backed up, including inside their preferred cloud or on-prem storage services. And finally, Haiku will provide iManage customers the confidence that their backups will be there and can quickly recover from ransomware attacks with the support of worm-enabled storage. Next, we'll take a look at how the Haiku for iManage Cloud module works. Haiku is providing a secure approach to backup and restoring iManage Cloud data. Haiku for iManage runs inside of the Haiku Archive platform, performing backups directly from iManage through their APIs and storing that data in the storage you prefer. Data is encrypted at rest and in transit, and so it's always secured and no one can read it, while supporting S3 compatible storage services across the different cloud providers and on-prem. Additionally, data can be stored inside the customer's account without HighQ having any access to customer backups, and iManage customers can be in complete control of the networking access of the storage account. So again, this means that we don't see what's going on inside of your account. We don't see the data. You are in control of the data from the moment it leaves iManage to the time it ends up in the data storage that you are providing. Finally, how about let's take a look at how HighQ delivers security first enterprise class data protection. Today, HighQ is actively working with customers large and small, including customers in the federal space. So we have security enterprise scale at front and center of our minds. This means HighQ is not only designed to be secure, but we can scale to protect the largest iManage cloud environments. HighQ enables customers to meet SLAs for backup recovery, including reporting for internal and external compliance, part of our core platform that this integration is plugging into. If you have other SaaS business critical data stored outside of iManage, reminder, as you saw earlier, HighQ supports over 80 data sources and can provide a standard automated approach to protecting your SaaS data. Additionally, HighQ delivers all of this with industry-leading 91 NPS and an industry-best customer success team. We will be there for you on that entire journey. So let's review how you can get started. First, you can take a look at our State of the SaaS Resilience report that explores cyber threats to SaaS apps and how leaders like yourselves can protect their businesses. Next, you can sign up for our waiting list and be notified when HighQ for iManage is officially available. You can access both through our QR codes, and we have shared a link in the chat for both of these documents or for the sign up and as well as the report. I'd like to now open up this for questions from the audience. Here, I'll take a look and see what kind of questions we have. So give me a moment here. I switch my screens here. So I've got first question in, and again, if anybody has additional questions, please go ahead and ask that. You can ask it through the Q&A button on here. Okay, so first question's coming in, and I think this is the question that a lot of people want to know. When will this be available? Right now, HighQ is actively working with iManage to make this available as quickly as possible. I know we announced this last year, the relationship last year during iManage Connect Live. It is expected to come soon, and as we don't have an official GA date yet, we will make sure that everybody who is on this call is apprised as soon as we have a more official targeted release date in mind. But we are working diligently with iManage closely, who is participating in the development of this solution to make sure it's really ready and suitable for the iManage cloud environment. Another question that has just come in is, how does the interface work to restore files back into, it says cloud, but I'm assuming, and this person come back if I misunderstood the question, but into iManage Cloud. So there's two ways to look at this. First is we will provide, very similar to what we have today in our cloud platform, is it will be you'll be able to choose and select which backup you're restoring from. So you know whether it's from a day ago, a week ago, a month ago, depending on how you set your backups, you can decide which backup you're recovering from. From there, you will be prompted through a dialog box of what type of data are you trying to recover from within the iManage Cloud environment. Are you trying to recover a library, a document, a workspace, a file? And based on that, you would click on which type of file you are looking to recover, and then where you'd like to recover that, and which type of file you'd like to recover. From there, we will build out all the metadata and provide you with the ability to recover whichever object, whether it's the entire library, entire workspace, or a particular file or folder from there, and initiate that recovery process. As I mentioned, there will be two primary recovery options. First is you can recover, again, outside if the entire service is down. You're looking to recover into maybe an outside environment outside iManage Cloud, then you'll be able to recover to an S3 compatible file system. Otherwise, you can recover back into iManage Cloud itself. When that recovery happens, we will make sure if there's a duplicate that it will we will rename the file itself, and so you can see the file plus that it is a new file that is being recovered, and you can make a determination if you want to keep the original file, if it's a duplicate or not. Trying to see if there's any other questions that we can answer at this time. So a question can come in and is the security backed up with the files? So we will maintain the metadata that is associated with that, including the roles or the permissions that are associated with that file as part of that recovery. And then I have one other question we'll answer, and then we'll go ahead and start to wrap up. And keep in mind, if there are any questions in here that we have not answered, we will work closely with you to follow. We will work closely and follow up with you directly coming out of the session. So last question we'll answer today is, in the case of an iManage outage, how can the files be restored locally? As I had mentioned, we do have the ability to recover outside of iManage. It would be recovered by the administrator of the backups into an S3 compatible file system. So for example, say you are backing this up to Amazon S3. And you then recover to an Amazon S3 file system, and then your admin could get you access to that file and share that file. So you could you could access the file and do whatever you need with that file until the service is up and running, and then you would simply upload that file as a new version once the iManage Cloud service is actively running again. So with that, we'll go ahead and end this session today. Again, if we didn't get to all the questions, we will follow up with you directly coming out of this webinar. We do really appreciate everybody who has attended the webinar today. And I think we will also, we will also share a link to the recording as well as access to the slides post the event in an email you should see in the next day or two.
Okay, perfect. Thanks a lot, everybody, for joining in today. Hope this was useful and insightful. Thank you.